I'm Chelsea. I'm the North America editor for Labels and Labeling magazine. I'm here with Jeroen Diderich, who was recently promoted to the Vice President and General Manager for Label and Graphic Materials in North America at Avery Dennison. Good afternoon, Jeroen. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Good afternoon. Hi, Chelsea. Nice meeting you.
Yeah, you too. So you previously oversaw this similar division for Avery Dennison in Europe, as I understand it. So, but if you could, let's start with a brief background on your history with the company.
Great. Yeah, thank you very much. Chelsea, I've been about 17 years with Avery Dennison. The first 7 years, I was responsible for supply chain and operations in Europe. So leading the plants and the distribution centers. Afterwards, I was for 4 years responsible for the sales in the European region, which includes the Middle East and Northern Africa. Then I was 3 years responsible for global marketing. And then the last 3 years, I was the general manager for the European region. So now very excited to make this step to North America and to take over the responsibility for this division.
Great. So what are your main responsibilities with Avery Dennison?
The main responsibility is basically to drive the strategy development, and then also the execution of our strategy to drive profitable growth and to be a reliable source for our customers, for our converters and users. And particularly in these times, I think it's very important. We see with the coronavirus a lot of volatility in the industry, a lot of demand, particularly for the essential business. And so to be a reliable source, reliable service and quality is of critical importance, and sometimes a challenge.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. I mean, that's the topic that everyone's talking about these days, is this COVID-19 global health pandemic. How is Avery Dennison responding to that?
So we are responding to that in two different ways, because we have different segments. We have the labels business that is, of course, of the primary interest of your members and readers, where we see a huge peak in demand, particularly for the essential business, but segments like food, like e-commerce, the VI, also for pharma products, for beverages. So that's a huge increase, and we, together with our customers, try to prioritize this order intake in order to still guarantee an acceptable service level. I have to admit that the service became a little bit longer, the lead times became a little bit longer than customers are used from us, but that is due to this extraordinary increase of demand. So that is one thing. We see almost the opposite on the graphics business. That is largely a more discretionary spend and has a less exposure to being essential as a supply chain for the society in these times. Although also some signage about having distance, practicing this social distance, for example, is important. But these are not the days that car wrapping is essential, for example. So we see a reduction of demand. And what you see, for example, is that we have reallocated assets and also employees to support the labels demand. So in that aspect, it's quite an opportunity that we have assets and employees in both businesses. And on top of that, also that we have additional capacity. We have invested in a new coater in Greenfield, and that coater is making good progress in ramping up. And so we are able to meet our customer requirements with this additional capacity.
So I imagine from the label industry, there's been just a greater demand all around.
Definitely, and particularly in the segments that are impacted by people that are now consuming from home.
So how have you, so you mentioned the new coater and the additional capacity. Is there any other ways that Avery Dennison is staying on top and being able to meet that demand from their customers?
So we have, first of all, it's very important to have the order management, as I said, jointly with customers, more focused on the essential value chains for society these days. Secondly, we have additional employees, temporary employees. We have reallocated some capacity. We are ramping up the additional capacity of Greenfield number 3. So those are some of the key factors that we are taking into account.
Interesting. So Jeroen, in your mind, as a result of this health crisis that everyone's facing around the globe, how do you see that changing the label industry or the label business?
Yeah. So before I give an answer to that, let me get back one basic thing I did not mention. I think the first point is to take care of the safety and the health of our employees. Yeah, and with that, we want to protect the health and the safety of our employees and their families, of course. And so what is very important is that we have implemented strict rules and policies in order to do so. So to reduce the chance that people would get sick, and that we would also be impacted by a high absenteeism rate, which would in the end then also make it more difficult to meet the volume requirements of our customers.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so important right now to take those extra precautions. So yeah, as a result of this crisis, I mean, do you think that this will change the way the label industry does business, or what kind of impact do you envision this crisis has on the industry?
Yes. It's very hard to say yet. We see that there's, of course, an increased consumption from home. For sure, in the beginning, there was also some stockpiling in the different phases of the value chain. And so now the question is, how much of this increased demand is sustainable? We see, for example, that when you order a pizza at one of the chains, the pizza box is sealed with a label, which was not necessarily always so in the past. So there's more security about that the food is protected, and that there has been no access of people to the food. So I think partly there will be an increased demand that will be sustainable. Of course, at some point in time, I also hope that people go back to restaurants and can enjoy life outside of their homes. And so there might be a bit of a change then in the demand patterns to normal levels.
Do you think in general it may change consumption trends with your customers in particular, and the way they're buying from you and the way they're interacting with you in general?
I think in consumer behavior there will be changes. People are more aware about the authenticity of the product, and to make sure that the product is safe and undamaged, and what the origin of the product is. I think that also the customers, the converters, want to make sure that they have a reliable source that can collaborate with them, and it's reliable in terms of making the capacity available to them. And so we want to work very closely with our customers in order to continue that process.
Yeah, certainly we're in unprecedented times. I think everyone has said that over and over, but it really is.
It is, and I also have to say that we're learning while we go, and I appreciate the close collaboration with our customers. We're not perfect, but we're learning, and we appreciate and we adapt while we go forward.
Are you noticing any trends with your customers? Any particular requests they have? Any other capacity issues, demand issues, or any trends that are emerging?
We see an increase in the segments that I mentioned in VI, in food and beverage, for example, in products for pharma applications, medication. So that is clear. We also see that customers have an increased demand for film products at this moment. I have to say that at the same time, the development of specialty projects came a little bit to a slowdown. So this is probably not the project to experiment and to do tests with new innovative products. And so we continue to prioritize strategic innovations, particularly in the area of sustainability. And we expect that those will ramp up as soon as we get into more normalized conditions.
Yeah, so you mentioned sustainability. I'm going to pivot to that a little bit. So you've been on Avery Dennison's Sustainability Council. So how does that factor into the work that you're doing and your plans for the future in your new role?
Yeah, I think what I noticed over the past 5 or 10 years is that sustainability was already a priority, but while it was a priority, it now became the priority. And so it is in the middle point. I think that particularly the recyclability of the entire container on which our label sticks is important, and the label cannot be a distraction or an impact for a negative yield of the recycling of the container. So that is one. I think that secondly, customers and consumers are asking for less material, so thinner products. So that's clearly also something that we're working on. And then brand owners also particularly ask for labels with recycled contents. And so I'm very pleased that in the meantime, we developed the widest range of recycled contents products in the industry. And we're looking to further expand that, expand the portfolio and also expand the degree of recycled contents. And on top of that, we're working closely with others in the value chain, including also suppliers, customers, and also competitors, colleagues in the industry, to develop also solutions for the matrix and liner waste. And I think we are really leaning forward in order to take a leadership role there as an industry leader, because we need to protect our industry for the potential impact of that.
Yes, absolutely. I think that was such a hot topic before all this COVID pandemic happened, and I'm glad to see that it's still going to be a priority moving forward once we're kind of through this, hopefully sooner. So tell me a little bit, you've recently moved to the United States from Europe. What was Avery Dennison's strategy behind bringing you over?
Well, I mean, I think to build further on the strengths and the strategy of Avery Dennison in North America, I think it's important to note that we're not suddenly doing things the European way here in North America. I think we have a great team and we have great capabilities, and I want to further build on that. So we want to continue to be a reliable source and have leading service and quality in the industry. That's one, and to make sure that we continue to drive productivity and continuous improvement, so that we have really competitive offerings. Secondly, and that's to the heart of Avery Dennison, we want to provide innovative solutions, and there's very important, we have great ideas ourselves, but we also want to listen to the customers and be responsive to their requirements and their needs, and develop solutions together. And then thirdly, it's to further expand the solutions that we bring on sustainability. And partly we want to bring differentiated solutions in order to enhance our position. But secondly, also we want to reach out to other partners in the industry to drive solutions that protect our industry.
Yeah. So I'm interested. You've been with Avery Dennison since 2003, is that right?
Yeah, correct.
So 2003, you've worked a lot in Europe. You've seen the market in Europe. You've seen the market in North America. What do you think are the biggest differences between the two regions?
Well, first of all, I have to say that there's a lot of similarities as well. And secondly, I want to be a little bit humble here. I'm here only for a couple of weeks, and in those weeks, I'm practicing the social distance, and so I'm kind of quarantined in the home. So I've not had a lot of exposure in the past couple of weeks. But from initial observations, I can say that in Europe, of course, you have the various countries and languages. And so I think you have more of domestic industries there in the label construction, as well as in the label converting, if regional or national players. Here it seems that there's a higher degree of consolidation, probably also initiated by a higher engagement of private equity. We see some companies with multiple locations. And so that is, for example, a key difference. But I'm very much interested to explore that further. And I'm very interested to learn from smaller family businesses as well as the larger converters.
Well, you picked a great time to move, Jeroen, that's for sure. Well, thank you so much for your time today. Was there anything else you want to say to the industry or to in general?
Again, I look forward to reach out and to learn about the developments and the requirements here in North America. We have great ideas, innovative ideas that we want to launch. But again, I'm also very much looking forward to learn from the converters, to build relationships and to collaborate either on bringing new innovations or on bringing sustainability improvements.
All right, Jeroen. Well, thank you so much for being here today and taking the time with me. And thank you so much, and congratulations on your new role.
Well, thank you very much, and to you and to all your readers. Stay safe and stay healthy, and look forward to meeting you.